Life, it comes at us like a train with all its ups and downs, its pains and its joys. How do we deal with it? How do we process it? How how do what we learn from life, and especially what we teach life back in return, makes all of the difference. Welcome to Life Talks. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Live Talks. I'm pretty excited because in this new series featuring women entrepreneurs, specifically Black women, I have been really honored to bring to you some women business owners who I admire. And today is just the same. As a matter of fact, this woman is a part of my story, the story that is so inspirational to so many of you. And I'll share a little bit more about how she came into my life and just wrecked it for the good. But in addition to that, she's such a beautiful, beautiful individual. And also, again, as I said, she is a business owner and an author, plus has a phenomenal life-changing story. So it is my honor to welcome Prophetess Patricia McKinney to the show. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, Toya. I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm
I'm good.
great. Really happy. I'll be cheesing a lot because you bring that out. So before we start, let me just read a little bit of your bio on
Okay.
your website, and then we will proceed. You are the founder and owner, CEO, creative behind Kimmie Kupcakes. Kimmie Kupcakes is spelled with a K, Kimmie. Cupcake is a K also, Kupcake. And it is an all natural line of beauty products, from lip balms to lipsticks to hair and skin. Everything can do everything. And I am a user. I tell you, sometimes I drink the stuff, which is, I have to take it easy. But tell us a little bit about the company, and then I will read what it says about you on there.
Well, Kimmie Cupcake was established maybe about 14 months ago. I started to take notice more about my health. And with my health came also my mind, my body, my soul. And I noticed a lot of products that I was using was breaking out my skin.
Hmm.
Like was breaking out my skin, my hair, the breakage and everything. So, while I was focusing on my weight loss journey, I said, you know what? I'm thinking about doing an all natural vegan handmade cosmetic and lip line. So I got together with a few of my girls, and that's how we established Kimmie Kupcake. It was just me on this journey, this mind, body, and soul journey. And I just figured, you know what? I'm taking care of my health. I'm a vegan. And so why not experiment and the whole woman,
Yeah.
so that's really how Kimmie Kupcake was established.
All right. All right. Cool. Well, let me read a little bit more on the website as I put
Okay.
my lens on. The Kimmie Kupcake Natural Cosmetics and Lip Line was founded, as just shared, by its CEO, Patricia McKinney, in December of 2018. The idea for the Kimmie Kupcake brand came to fruition after Patricia in 2012 began her journey to becoming healthier, to lose weight, to exercise, eat better, and live a healthy lifestyle. She has since lost, probably more now, 80 pounds, and has kept it off. She has been a vegan for the past 1 year now, two, right? Since it's
two
what,
years now.
2 years now. Eating an organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, dairy and sugar-free diet. Patricia loves her healthy lifestyle, which she has benefited from enormously, naturally and spiritually. In the process, she wanted cosmetics, hair, and personal hygiene products that would complement her vegan and natural and organic lifestyle. She was always looking for the right products with the right ingredients. So she found a few products here and there, but in December of 2018, Kimmie Cupcakes was successfully launched. Kimmie Cupcake products are vegan and made only with the finest organic and natural ingredients. The products are safe, they're effective, they're healing, nourishing, moisturizing, hydrating, soothing, restorative, and therapeutic. Patricia tests and uses every product from her Kimmie Cupcake Natural Cosmetics and Lip Line online store, and is also the face of this company. She's married to her husband of 25 years, Kelvin, and they have two amazing, I would say amazing children together. Kelvin Jr., who is 19. Is he still 19 or did he hit 20?
No, 20 now. He's
Oh,
20 now.
goodness. Kelvin Jr., who's 20, and Kimberly is 22 now, then?
22.
Oh, my word. She's a digital artist, and the artist, creative designer, I should say, behind Kimmie Cupcake's logo. Um, Patricia is also the CEO and founder of a 501c3 private foundation, Women in Transition, founded in 2008. Through Women in Transition, she empowers women from all backgrounds, cultures, and all walks of life. She tackles head on the social issues affecting women, teens, and young adults, such as abuse in all forms, life skills developments, breaking negative behavioral patterns, emotional recovery, and inner healing. She knows firsthand that if you change the way a person thinks, then you can change their world. Her programs and workshops get to the inner core and root issues as to why the individual succumb to dysfunction in life and to start rebuilding where they've been torn down. This is her motivation and passion. You can visit her website at www.womenintran.org to learn more. As I said before, she's also a self published author. And on December 7, 2018, she published her memoir titled Escaping the Belly of the Beast, a story of survival, overcoming molestation, rape, physical, mental, and psychological abuse. Patricia has not only survived her past, but has overcome and conquered all those things that left her broken for many years of her life. Her book is a raw account of her life journey retold in Escaping the Belly of the Beast. Patricia takes the reader in places most have never been physically and emotionally. The book is powerful in that she gives the readers insight into the relationships between our childhood experiences and its very powerful effect on our actions and thought processes as we grow up and get older, most times without us even being aware of it. Her book is available for purchase on Amazon. She has dedicated her life to helping women, teens, and families make transitions in all aspects of life. Her brand is a holistic approach for all your natural, physical, and spiritual needs based on the biblical principles of the Most High God. This also includes her empowerment blog for daily inspiration and motivation, which can be found by visiting www.prophetessmckinney.blogspot.com, and all of that should be scrolling right down at the bottom. I wanted to read all of it because all of it is why you're here today. Without one part of it, it won't be Prophetess McKinney. You know what I mean? And
Right.
because I entered into your life at a point, and I have seen, as far as with the your transitions from radio, and then within your ministry, and then you're moving and all of that, and even attending some of your events and just being honored to be a part of them. It is just such a miracle. It is your life is just so blessed. You're so favored, and to see that you've transitioned this now into more of a holistic lifestyle of eating and skincare from the inside out, not just spiritually, but physically, emotionally, and mentally. I feel like you're like in a sweet spot now, in your life, where you're not dependent on anything else. You have created the life that you want, and you're not selfish with it. You share it with whoever wants to partake in it, and you give yourself wholly. You mentioned earlier your girls. You have this ability to just pull in women and call them your family, your daughters, and you give them all of you. I have seen that personally. It's not anything I've read. By reading the bio, you can get a little bit about her, but I'm telling you, you have to experience this woman to understand the power of God over her life. So again, welcome. Yes, I took a lot of time to do that
That's
intro
okay.
because I think it's worth it. So, so let's start with a little bit of your background, right?
Okay.
Was mentioned within your book, your beginnings wasn't that smooth, right? You had some rough patches
Yes,
in
I
your.
have.
Can you share with us
Yes.
a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, um, as everyone know, my name is Prophetess Patricia McKinney, and I was born in Hartford, Connecticut on September 29th, 1965. I was born to Luther Douglas Goff and May Helen Williams. I come from a military family. My father,
Mm.
veteran, and he fought in the Korean conflict. And it was me, my mother, my father, and my brother. Um, I was born into a family of love, a lot of um, stability, just everything I needed as a child. And around 3 years old, my father passed away. He passed away from kidney failure. And I tell you, that changed our lives forever. My mother and father were 16 years apart. So when he passed away, my father was very young. My father was only 30 years old.
Oh, okay. I'm just learning more about you now because we hadn't talked about that. Wow. Okay.
My father was 38 years old when he passed away. So him and my mother was 16 years apart.
Yeah.
My mother was devastated. She was a young mother with two babies. I was three, my brother was five, and my father passed away. Now, in Hartford, my father had four brothers and two sisters. So there was a lot of family. However, after my father passed away, maybe around, I believe, about a year later, my mother decided to make a transition to Connecticut. I mean, Norwalk, Connecticut, where her sister and her mother, my grandmother, lived. And that's where we stayed. That's where we stayed. And I attended Catholic schools. I went to Catholic church. And, my mother decided that she wanted to change her religion. So we joined a church called Grace Baptist. And we went there for a little while. And then, things began to change. Things began to change. Around 7 years old, we lived in a community called Colonial Village. We were one of the first Black families that moved there because when we moved there, it was totally all Caucasian.
Mm.
And it was nice, it was different, but it was nice. But I was used to that because growing up, growing up Catholic and, going to Catholic schools, that's pretty much who I was around. I was around all Caucasian people. My father's brothers married Caucasian women, so I had a whole lot of biracial cousins. And so when we moved to Colonial Village, we kind of blended in. And a family friend that we called Uncle Al used to come by and help mom around the house, help clean the house and fix things around the house. And he was my uncle. I love my uncle. He came by, he gave us candy. I trusted him and everything. And one day he said, come on over here and sit in Uncle Al's lap. And me, I'm 7. That's my uncle. I love him. I
Right.
trust him. I went and sat on Uncle Al's lap. And that's when the molestation started. Um, I was young. I was a baby. I don't know. I thought it was normal, and I share the story a lot to people because they don't understand. As children, we still have feelings.
Right.
So at 7, it felt good.
Right.
It felt good. So every time Uncle Al came over, I ran and jumped on his lap because I'm looking for that feeling, not knowing that what he was doing was opening up portals
Mhm. Mhm.
to something more sinister.
Mhm.
And that went on for about maybe 7, 8 months. And then one day, Uncle Al just didn't come back. He never came back. I never seen him before. And things just kind of went to the left. And what I mean by that, now I'm chasing that feeling.
Feeling,
I'm
yes.
chasing it because now where's Uncle Al? I can't find Uncle Al. So as I grew up and became a preteen, now my focus was boys, 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 kissing, touching, feeling, all of these things because I'm still chasing that feeling from 7 years old. And I say around maybe 13, I was raped. I was raped and I was beaten. It was horrific. It was horrific. It took place in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And that really changed my life. But, you know, you would have thought that me being raped would have kind of like stopped me from kind of wanting to do so many things, but it just did the opposite.
Added
It
fuel
did the
to it.
complete opposite. Like after I was raped, you know, they found the guy, he got arrested, but that did not slow me down because a year later, I'm back out there running the streets. So everybody say, where was your mom? My mom was a single mother. She worked. We had a roof over our head because when my father passed away, he left her enough money to raise me and my brother until we became 18 years old. So she was collecting his Social Security. Plus, she had a job. So she was working. And so that gave me plenty enough time to do what I need to do. And, you know, as we're young, so we know how to maneuver. We
Of
know
course,
how to get around our parents.
of course,
We're really manipulative and
of
everything.
course.
And my mother worked from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. And so the babysitter that she had for me and my brother ended up sleeping with the babysitter. So it just gave me so much freedom to do so many different things that I was not supposed to do. And then I say around 14, 15, because things happen back to back, like 13. And so many things happened in that whole year. Like that whole year, I started drinking beer. I started smoking cigarettes. I started smoking joints. And it put me in an environment that was very toxic because now my mother, she's working in the bar. You know, she's working in the pool rooms. So that puts me in an atmosphere where you have drug dealers, you know, you have people that's out there shooting crap, you know, it just put me around older men that was very, very perverted. Very perverted. So I'm a 13-year-old. I had the cutest body in the world. I was petite. I was always petite. And I had these old men, 50 and 60 years old, trying to sleep with me. You know, so with me being around an atmosphere where you have players, you have prostitutes, you have all these things, it puts me in a space where now I'm easy prey.
Mhm.
I'm easy prey. And so now I learned how to adapt to that environment. And from there, it just went so far to the left. So me not knowing it was this guy, and this guy, he was a pimp. He was a pimp, and he was watching me for a few years. And he told my mother, and I don't think she really realized what he was saying. He told my mother, he said, I'm going to get your daughter when she turns 16. Now, I was 14. I was 14, and I liked him. He was like one of the finest guys in the world. Like all the girls wanted him. So for him to have any interest in me, and I'm a young girl, 14. I'm like, wow, like he want me. So now I'm out there and I'm being so just like disrespectful in terms of not listening, hard-headed, sneaking out the house, you know, I was going into the bars at 15 years old. I was able to get in the bars. My mother worked in the bars, so they knew I was a minor, but they still allowed me to get into the bars. And I'm going into the bars with him because he was like 3 years older than me. He shoot pool and stuff like that. And not knowing he was really prepping me to put me out on the streets to make money for him. And that happened. And I tell you, it was the most horrific thing that I've ever had to go through in my life in terms of just being put out there and forced to do things really as a child, because I'm still a baby. I'm 16 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 16. And that went on for some years. That went on for maybe 3 or 4 years. And then that relationship kind of went to the left. And now I'm in another relationship that was more toxic than the one I just came out of, that almost completely took me out. And now I'm indulging in drugs. I'm indulging in all types of things in the world, in the streets. But even in that, I still had some boundaries, because though I was in the world and I was in the streets and I was, I was using drugs and alcohol, there were still certain things I would not do.
Couldn't do.
I would not rob the elderly. I wouldn't take from certain people. There were certain things I still would not do. It was like I wouldn't cross the line. Mm-hmm. So I would do more abuse to myself, to my body, instead of going out there hurting somebody. And that's one of the things I can say coming up in a 2-parent home.
Right.
With my mother and father, and though I was a young girl, I still remember some things, at 3, 4 years old. And
so let me ask you this then. So this first individual, the pimp, right?
Yes.
Even though he had you in a relationship with him, he still had you going out there. Was it sleeping with people to bring money back to him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you get out of that?
We had a number one rule. His rule was no black men. You had to sleep with all white men that had money. And I'm going to tell you something. I was with some wealthy men that had a lot of money, that was married, had wives, had a full-blown family. I'm in big mansions in Greenwich, Connecticut, Darien, Connecticut. You will be surprised. That's why when I see things on the news and I hear about pedophilia, rape and molestation, I can relate. Right. And I believe it.
Right.
I believe it because I was a young girl.
Yeah.
And I know people have double lives out here. I'm talking about, it was so bad after the pimp. There were people I went to school with, their fathers, their grandfathers, well known in the communities, worked for the state and government, worked for the city, pastors, bishops. Yeah. So when I hear stories like that today, where most people debunk, I'd be like, absolutely not, because it happened to me.
Wow.
I was a victim. And now I'm in a place in my life that everything was numb. I was numb to everything. And even though I knew a lot of things were wrong, I was stuck and I was trapped in the belly of the beast. And the further I got away from who I was, I went deeper into the belly until I completely lost myself.
Now, question for you. I know, because I know a lot of your story. So you said you transitioned to another individual and started now doing hard drugs. So you started soft drugs, if there's a thing, but then you end up with really, really hardcore drugs. And you said you went deeper. At what point did it transition? Because you did end up in jail.
Yes.
Is that through that second relationship, or you had more to go?
No. Well, I started going to jail at 16. I mean, my mother completely had enough. I was running away from home. I was here, I was there, I was everywhere. And one day I went out and I stole. And when I used to go steal, it was just clothes. You know, we go booster, you steal clothes. Because I always loved to dress because I come from a family. My father was a very sharp man. My mother was a very classy woman. So I was used to having nice things because I grew up like that. So I used to go out and steal my clothes. So one time I went out and stole my clothes and I got caught. They called my mom. My mom said, you know what? I'm sick of her. Send her to jail for a week to teach her a lesson. But that didn't teach me a lesson because I went to jail in 1983. And in 1983, when you went to jail in Niantic, you was in jail with the men. So now I'm incarcerated with men. And I'm like, oh, I'm in jail. I'm like this. You out there, it was really there was no restrictions like it was today. You're walking the compound, you're going to school with them, you're sneaking in the bathroom with them, you're kissing, you're doing all types of stuff in jail. So when it was time for me to go home,
it just fed to what you wanted anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And so when it was time for me to go home, I was like, I don't want to go home. I want to stay in jail. But that was the first time. And then as I continue on going deeper into the belly of the beast, and my second relationship was more toxic. Mm-hmm. It was very abusive, physical, mental, psychological. It was so abusive. And that's where the hardcore drugs came in at. Where now I'm doing heroin. Thank God I never used needles, but I sniffed heroin from one bag, and then it went all the way to like almost 15 bags a day, like throughout the day. And then crack cocaine, and I mean, it just go on. And so that just caused me to go out and steal more. And now I'm not stealing clothes. I'm stealing clothes to sell clothes just to feed my habit. Mm-hmm. And to feed the guy habit that I'm with, that was very, very abusive. Very abusive. Always put his hands on me, punch me, stomp me, spit on me, call me everything in the book, everything. And this went on for about 6 years. Now, it didn't start off like that, but it ended up like that.
6 years.
To the point where one night he forced me to go out and I didn't want to go out. I was tired. My body was tired. This was in 1993. My body was tired and I was crying out to the Lord. I started crying out. In between that, I was in and out of jail for just little petty crime. Larceny 6, larceny 6, larceny 6. You know, just boosting, stealing clothes to feed my habit, just stupid stuff. And in 19, because I started going to jail in 1983, all the way to 1993. 10 years. In and out, in and out.
Now, were you in and out of Niantic, or then you were transferred to, it was Niantic?
No, it was always Niantic.
Okay. With the guys.
Always Niantic. I didn't make it to York, the maximum prison. York wasn't built when I was going to prison. Okay. York came after. Okay. And so 1993, 3 o'clock in the morning, I had enough. I was tired. You know, and I always tell people, you're not tired until you're tired.
Right. Yes.
Because you can say it all day long, but until you're tired,
that's
you're
when
not going to see any change.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so one night, 1993, I was in the back hallway in Norwalk, in a place called Meadows Garden. And I remember it was a cold night, but the sky was clear, the stars was out, and the moon was shining. And I remember crying out to the Lord. Like the cry came from the pit. of my stomach. I mean, I cried so hard. And I said to the Lord, if you don't help me, I'm going to die out here. Because I was homeless. I was living in the streets. I didn't have anywhere to live. I was sleeping in cars. I was sleeping in abandoned buildings. And even in that, the Lord was merciful. Because people don't even understand that. It was a blizzard. South Norwalk, 1992. It was a blizzard. It was cold. I didn't have nowhere to live. The guy I was with, his mother took all my money, put me out. She was always taking my money and putting me out. And I'm cold. I'm freezing. And so now he in jail. I'm still out in the streets. And I'm crying. I said, Lord, I'm going to die out here. I have one layer of clothes on, one pair of socks, these shoes. I mean, it was cold, freezing, snowing. And I remember I was walking up the hill. And I know it was the Holy Spirit because I walked into this hallway and I was standing there. My hands was balled up. I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't feel my feet. I'm about 100 pounds, soaking wet, strung out on drugs. And I know the Lord, it was like something told me to go see if one of those apartments downstairs, doors are open. So I kind of looked and I said, let me see if one of these doors are open. And I went downstairs and it was the apartment to the left. And when I went to that apartment, I turned the knob, the door opened.
Uh-oh.
But not only did the door open, when I walked in there, it was clothes and everything scattered all over the place. Some furniture, it looked like somebody just moved out but left everything. And when I looked around, I was like, oh my gosh. And I locked the door. I ran over to the stove and Toya, let me tell you something. I turned the knob and the stove came on.
So you had heat.
I had heat.
Myself up, yeah.
That was the Lord. Even in all of that, that was him. And I stayed in that apartment. It was an abandoned apartment. I never forget. For 2.5 weeks. I would get up. I would go out. I would go to the shelter, get me some food. And then I would go to a friend's house and wash up. And then I would go out and I would boost in the daytime. And then at night, I'd go out and work the streets at night and make my money. And I did that for 2.5 weeks. And I had somewhere to stay. Until one night I came back and they locked the apartment. And so after that, I'm still running. I'm still ripping. I'm still running. And one night I just cried out to the Lord. And I said, if you don't save me, I'm going to die. And I remember maybe 2 days later, I got picked up because I've always been on the run, failure to appear, not going to court, violation of probation. And this last time, they offered me 8 years. 8 years. And I was like, 8 years? I'm not used to 8 years. I'm used to going to jail for 6 months, 90 days, 60 days, 9 months. But then I get out early on parole or something like that. But they talking about 8 years. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to jail for a long time. But even in all of that, the Lord was still merciful because I was in jail for a year, and this time it was different. The last time it was different for me than all the other times that I went to jail. This time was different. And every week I met a Caucasian couple, Pastor Jean and Robert Knapp. And they used to be chaplains at Niantic. And then they started to come visit me every Tuesday and have Bible study with me at visits. I never received any visits. My mom always sent me money. She always sent me packages, but she never came and visited me, but she accepted my collect calls. My mom, one thing about my mother, she never abandoned me in that sense when I when I was incarcerated. But they came and they had church with me, and they read scriptures with me, and they began to speak into my life. And it was just a change. And I remember going back and forth to court, facing 8 years, and I'm under the old law. I'm under 25% back then, because it was in 1994. And that last court run, I went to court almost 9 months, and they went from 8 years to 3. And I was already in jail for 9-10 months, so that counted.
Deducted.
And I was under 25%. And 2 months later, I was released to the Mary Magdalene House in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I never looked back. Yeah. I never looked back. And that was I went to my last time being incarcerated was June 13th, 1994. That's when I stopped using heroin. That's when I stopped using crack cocaine. That's when I stopped living that life of crime. And when I tell you I never look back, I never look back. I never relapsed. I never used again. I didn't do any of that. I didn't go to NAAA. I had to go because it was a part of the program. But once I was released from Mary Magdalene, I decided not to go back to Norway. So I found a place in Bridgeport, and that's where I stayed. And I stayed clean. I stayed clean. And maybe 19, I was released in Mary Magdalene, 95. I stayed in Mary Magdalene for about maybe 7 months. And then I moved into my own place, and maybe a few months later, I met my husband.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Life Talks. I hope that you were inspired and that you have felt a rejuvenation in your life. And I hope that what you are saying right now is that the answer that you are given to what life has thrown at you is that I am still here. Email us with your Life Talk ideas at mylifetalkstv@gmail.com. See you next time.